Committee of the City of Wausau meeting. It's Monday, October 7th, 2024. Items on the agenda for consideration are approval of the minutes of the September 3rd, 2024 meeting. Move to approve by Alder Neal.
I'll second.
Second by who?
Lucan.
Alder Lukens? All right, thank you. We have a motion by Alder Neal and a second by Alder Lukens for approval of the September 3rd, 2024 meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And thank you, that passes unanimously. Item number 2, discussion and possible action of granting permission for 3M to do soil testing. And I'll turn that over to Andy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know we have somebody that was trying to call into the WebEx, which unfortunately I'm unable to get going right now, but Mr. Kevin Mattson was going to speak on behalf of 3M. Basically, what they're looking to do, they purchased a segment of railroad. I'm going to pull my map up here at Riverside Park, and here we go. That section of railroad was then tested and found to be trace levels of arsenic along that rail line. So what is required of them through the Wisconsin DNR is to test the land adjacent that railroad track as well. So that testing area shown here is within the park. So what we are asking the council to look at here is approval for them to go in and do core samples. They will not disturb the trees at this time. There's no reason to at this point. They'll backfill those holes with bentonite, topsoil, and seed. And it's just basically a requirement to see if that toxin is beyond where that rail line is currently. So the ask is, I guess, permission for them to conduct their work on park property.
Any discussion?
I'll move to approve their testing activity at the park.
Okay, we have a motion by Alder Rasmussen to approve the testing in the park. Is there a second? Second by Alder Neal. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that passes unanimously. Item number 3, discussion and possible action on approving park improvement for a communication board on Oak Island. I read this and I didn't quite understand it. Why does the staff not recommend it?
Nope, it isn't that. It isn't that the staff doesn't recommend it. We do recommend it.
Oh.
This is we have requests like this frequently that come into parks, and typically it's just a one-page document where the requester will state what they're doing, what the cost is, what they need from us, etc. With this one, we wanted to bring this one forward because it's, it's fairly large, and there would be a small amount of work for the department, basically just to keep it maintained, keep it clean, keep it how it should be. We very much are in favor of this communication board for children that have difficulties with that. I know in here it says autistic, but I think it's really just limited verbal communication skills.
Okay, thank you. Open for discussion? Motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
Motion to approve agenda item 3 by Alder Lukens. Do I have a second by Alder Watson? Motion has made for discussion. Motion has been made by Alder Lukens, second by Alder Watson for approved item number 3. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that passes unanimously. Number 4, discussion and possible action on request to relocate the boy with the blue statue.
All right. So yes, the boy with the boot, if you're from around here or been around here for a while, you probably saw this at some point. That statue is currently held by our department in safekeeping. And with the redevelopment downtown, Becker Hoppy has asked if that could be incorporated into that development, and it would be kind of a seasonal feature, so it would be out during the the warm season, as I understand it, and then removed and replaced with something more seasonal in the winter. If you do have questions on that, Matt Grawn is here from Becker Hoppy, and he can speak to any of those questions you may have.
Thank you, Andy. I'll open it for discussion. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. I guess I have just one. That statue is actually a fountain, right, that circulates water?
Correct, you're right.
Okay, so it would be physically, like, completely removed in the off-season?
Yeah, so that's the talk. It's kind of a self-standing unit, so it's got a
Yep.
base to it with a water feature underneath, and then the buoy and the water comes out of the boot. But yeah, the goal would be to pull that whole thing out from a freeze-thaw standpoint. That kind of happens with a few other water structures downtown here too, so
Sure.
something along those
But
lines.
we would have water supply in that area to get water to it?
Yeah, we've been talking about that a little bit. Once the water or the unit's got water in it, it works by itself, right?
Oh.
And even rainwater, I think, would kind of fill the thing up.
So it gets filled and it recycles whatever you
yeah,
put in it? Okay.
correct.
So it
There
doesn't
is-
need a line run to it?
No, we may look at that we've got a water line or a water main running right by it to put a spigot there of some sort if we can kind of camouflage it with everything else. Otherwise, the Children's Museum does have a faucet on the outside, it looks
I
like,
see.
too, so we could run it off of that.
Okay.
I haven't asked them if they support that, but I would think that they would
Okay.
support it.
That was my only question, is how it would work. So,
Okay,
thanks.
Alder Neal, thank you.
Thank you. Since it has experienced some, vandal type stuff in the past, I guess that's why it ended up in the mall where it could be safer. How are we going to protect it in this location?
Yeah, and part of this initial request is seeking permission to use it. We would plan on using some landscaping and some features around it to help kind of support that device. And again, there's going to be a lot of new stuff, I think, in that downtown area as well. So it's like everything else. It's trying to keep people from vandalizing the 400 block or anything, right? I think it kind of
Right.
falls in that same pot. And some of the other water features, right? So I think with the new streets, there's going to be some more security cameras and that kind of stuff I envision in the future too. So
Okay.
hopefully that helps deter, end users. But we can't stop it either. I don't want to say it's not going to happen.
I mean, so far, Edgar, the Raven, is escaped, right?
Yeah, a
Any
couple
harm?
times flew away, right? Yeah. No. Yeah, for sure. But no, I think, and that's a good case, right? That one's doing well. There's a few other water features. I picture the ball by the courthouse, stuff by the kayak course, right? Too, something along those lines.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I would move to approve
Okay.
the placement.
Okay, we have a motion by Alder Neal
I'll second.
and a second by Alder Rasmussen to relocate the boy with the boot statue. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that passes unanimously. Item number 5, discussion and possible action approving repairs to the 10th Street wall and funding recommendation. Andy.
Alrighty, so this wall, to our knowledge, does not have any historic value, such as Stewart Park does, but this is a park just a little bit further to the south. There is a stone retaining wall there that is deteriorating. The water is running between the sidewalk and the wall, and it actually pushed out a section of wall this past winter. We were able to, put that back together and do some tuck pointing there. But in looking at this, I went there with Alan, the city engineer, and the recommendation is to, from a cost-effective standpoint, would be to backfill that wall, and it would be a significant amount of backfill, and bring that grade up to level with the sidewalk, which would leave a small portion of that wall above grade, and then remove that so everything is at grade from the sidewalk into the park. Obviously, the park does slope downhill towards the west, but it would then help maintain the integrity of the sidewalk and ultimately the roadway behind it. So what we did was Alan had his engineers work on a budgeting estimate. The estimate, I don't want to guess, but it was like 38,000-ish. Where am I here? Oh, I'm sorry. Bear with me for a second. I gotta go down a ways. That's right. Here we go. Okay, the estimated construction cost is $31,950 with a 20% contingency of $6,390. This is a contractor estimate. So this is not, if we were to do this internal, that cost would likely be reduced. But I guess the question here is, we've identified something that is failing, and want to bring it to your attention and kind of seek some guidance. Do we want to rebuild this wall and keep it as is? Do we want to put in a different retaining wall type feature? or do we want to backfill it and not have this problem again? So that's really kind of the direction we're looking for here.
Thank you, Andy. Alder Neal, this is in your district, isn't it? In one of your parks?
Yeah.
And what are the consensus there?
Well, I haven't had any, feedback on this. My feeling is that, this, unlike Stewart Park, where we're talking about, historic structures and whatnot, which we're, going to be much more concerned about, in the future, that this is really a utilitarian thing. So I don't really see it as something to spend a whole lot of money on. There's no real aesthetic involved here. Unless there's a compelling reason, for the structure of the surrounding, property, stability of anything, I have no, love for this wall, so.
Thank you, Alder Neal. Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. I guess just for clarification, where is this park? Is this the one that's behind Tom Field?
This is just south of Stewart Park. It's along 10th Street.
Okay.
And then on the far west side, I believe those are apartment buildings. So
the old
it's
jail.
basically a big green
Oh,
space.
near Bella Street. Okay, I know where you're talking about.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, I think that if backfilling it and leveling it prevents us having to continuously deal with erosion or degradation of this structure in the future, or any other structure for that matter, I think that a permanent fix would be ideal. I mean, if we could move that forward. I guess from a budgetary standpoint, as much of it as could be done in-house, I feel like I would encourage that, because that then reduces the impact. I mean, if it becomes something that can get done within the small projects fund, or if it's something that, we could look at project savings maybe from other areas to fund it if the small project fund wouldn't take it. It's easier to achieve if some of the work is in-house and you don't have the contractor labor to deal with. Because that removes the contingency too then, kind of, so.
Completely agree. The reason I wanted to bring forward a contractor price is so that the council was aware of, okay, this is what worst case scenario would be for this situation. This is completely an in-house job as far as I'm concerned between us and DPW.
Sure.
So, yeah,
Okay.
There
That-
should be a cost savings.
That's where I come down on it too, I guess. Do you need a motion for direction?
Yes, if you don't mind.
I would move then that we direct the department to go forward with the project and backfill the wall and level it to prevent future issues. And as much of that work as they can complete in-house, I would like to see that happen.
Okay. Motion has been made by Alder
I'll second
Rasmussen
that.
and second by Alder Neal to backfill and do the repairs in-house and with at least cost as necessary. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that passes unanimously. Item 6, Emerald Ash Borer Management Plan Update. We must have somebody here for that.
Yep, we've got John Cahan, the city forester. He can speak on what I kind of started with, I guess.
Go ahead, John, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Just to touch base on the Emerald Ash Borer program, where we're at, kind of how we've been working along through the process. As you saw in the attachments, in 2016, we had the original presentation to the committee regarding EAB, knew it was coming. We're making plans how we're going to mitigate the issues we have here in town. In 2021, the winter of 2021, we did find emerald ash borer here in the city of Wausau. And we actually had just started injecting the year before, so the timing was absolutely impeccable. It worked out perfectly. And we actually updated that management plan specifically from recommendation from the council to extend our removal period to make less aesthetic impact to the city. So we went from a 7-year program to a 12 to 15-year program. We're still continuing down that pace. We're taking a lot of ash trees out, I'm sure you've all noticed, throughout the city, replacing as best we can through the process. So through the funds that we have for this project, we are removing. In-house, we do a lot of removals. We remove roughly 350 to 400 ash trees per year, right in that range. Depends on the year and kind of parts of town we're in. We do utilize a subcontractor for a chunk of those in the fall. They'll be coming, actually starting here shortly to do a number of those. Usually it's around 120 to 140 trees that they take out, grind the stumps, do the whole process for us. And then we actually plant back as all those trees that the contractor did the next year and as many as the others as we can each year. So try to stay on that process. You'll see a lot of new trees out there throughout the city. What we've really been focusing on at the beginning of the project was a lot of our parks, a lot of our areas where the trees were condensed in, say, industrial parks, things like that, where it won't be quite as noticeable or affect the residents quite as much. In the last few years, we're really focusing on thinning out the neighborhoods where there's lots and lots of ash trees. So say, example, on the northeast side, we have streets that are completely ash. We're trying to go through and thin that, take a small percentage out and replace those trees to start that process of renewal so it's not such a vast change so quickly. And then also that part of that program is treatment. So every year we're treating about a third of the trees that we're trying to maintain for a longer period of time so we don't get infested and die on us too quickly. So in the last 3 years, we injected almost 2,600 trees. So we do that during the summertime with interns, doing actually a fantastic job for us. We had some from Stevens Point, so we're utilizing people who really want to be out there doing tree work, which is working really well for us. So those trees are slowly every year getting a little bit less as we're thinning that herd out, so to say. So working through that. And then, like I said, the last part is we're trying to replace best we can, very diverse. You'll see a lot of elms are brought back in the city now, a lot of those that are resistant to Dutch elm disease. So those of us who are old enough, I don't want to age myself, but who've seen the big, massive, beautiful elm trees, we're trying to bring some of that back. So there'll be some of those in town as well. So we continue through the process, and like I said, our contractor will be starting up here shortly, and we continue in-house to do as much as we can as well.
Thank you, John. Just a question, how long does a shot last in these trees?
The labeled rate for the injection is 2 years. We have found through working with the chemical companies is that actually if you let them go that 2 years and inject the third year, even if you start getting a little bit of infestation, what we're looking for is to maintain those trees alive and safe until we get to remove them. So we're doing every 3 years. But if you're doing it on a personal basis at your house, you do recommend every 2.
Okay, I see, because I remember maybe a year or two ago, there was a guy sitting out in my yard, and I don't have curb and gutter, but what are you doing? I went out there, I'm injecting the tree, and so, but
Sure.
the tree seems to be still healthy, so. Alder Neal.
Thank you. We have one in our front yard, and it's not on the boulevard, it's actually in the yard itself, seemingly in really good health. Would I be able to have the city treat that tree at cost?
The city does not treat private trees. We would only treat trees in the right-of-way, so we wouldn't be able to do that. If you want to do that, you can certainly contact a certified arborist or tree company area that could do that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other, we don't need motion or anything on
No.
this.
Nope,
This is
this
just
was-
a discussion item.
Yep, this was just an update.
Any other discussion on this item? Okay, thank you, John. You're done, right?
No, actually, I'm going to use him next. He can just stay there till the next one.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Well,
Item-
we're moving to 7A though.
Yeah, 7A, yeah, educational items, yes.
So, yeah, John can talk to the EAB DNR grant that we received more efficiently than I can. So I'll let him stay at the podium, I guess.
Sure. So we actually, the Parks Forestry Department actually received a WDNR grant through the Inflation Reduction Act, IRA funds from the federal government. So we applied for that this last June and received actually almost $500,000 for this grant. So this grant is fully funded. There's no match. So it is all money coming to our program for urban forestry initiatives specifically. So parts of the grant are very important to us. The first part, about $380,000, is going to tree planting within the city of Wausau. Now, it's very specific to in the Wausau which neighborhoods are involved. It's what they call the underserved areas. So I do have some mapping here, but just to give you a quick look, I don't know if it's in the packet or not, but it's about 48% of Wausau. So a lot of the city is actually affected by this, so we can do a lot of work within the city. And if you have more information on this, I can provide the mapping for sure. So it's specifically those areas. So we're going to be doing planting within the rights-of-way of the city. So we're not planting on private properties. This is in the right-of-ways. One of the reasons we chose to do it that way as opposed to making it available to residents is part of the process is those trees have to be maintained for a minimum of 3 years after planting. And if we're going to neighborhoods that really could use this help, really could use help with their, the trees and their processes, we expect we would be able to take care of them better than hoping they would. So by putting them in our right-of-ways, we'll take care of them, they're maintained, everything be done properly for them that we can. So that's going to be roughly 900 trees we planted over 3 years. I guess I didn't mention that. It was a 3-year grant, so we're working with a 3-year period. So depending on our contractors, about 900 trees we planted. Again, diverse species, focusing on replacing these ashes that we're losing as well. Second part of this is actually really exciting for a lot of us. There's actually $100,000 that's going specifically for ash tree mitigation on private property. So we have a lot of residences in these neighborhoods that can't afford to take down trees that are hazardous, that are creating problems, that are going to be dying or are failing from emerald ash borer in these neighborhoods. We're working on an application process. Actually getting some help through our community development office, which they've been awesome helping me out with this portion. So they can actually apply and we can make sure that they qualify for this help, this aid, and we'll actually subcontract a tree company, through bidding process, of course, to remove those trees, probably on a quarterly basis or possibly every half a year I'll be doing that. So working through that process. So again, $100,000 is going to be first come, first serve. When that money is expended, it's expended. But we certainly want to help as many people as we can through that process. And as far as I know, we're the only one doing that receive these monies in the state that I know of. So it's actually a big win for us. The last portion of it, we're actually working with the school district. So the school district will be going to each of the schools that's within this specified area by the DNR, and we're going to educational programs. So we'll be teaching the children value trees, how to care for trees, and the importance of having trees. Then we actually take and plant approximately 5 trees per school on the school grounds, because they're losing ash trees as well. They're losing some trees. We're going through that process of planting with them. So we kind of start that process of younger generations seeing the importance and value in trees. So that's the 3 facets of it.
Alder Lukens.
Thank you, Chair Larson. I just have a couple comments. So I just wanted to thank John Kahan for all the work that he put into this, because I know he has put in a ton of time, even personal time, his own time, for this grant. It's huge and it's really wonderful. And I'm also really excited about the school part of it. I remember, and I had to be like, I don't know, I bet I was in kindergarten or first grade, Arbor Day, or Earth Day, the Earth Day, planting a tree. I think it was the first Earth Day, and I still remember that. So anyway, it can definitely have an impact. So thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you, Alder Lukens. Any other discussion? Okay, Andrew?
Thank you. Just one other thing to add on this grant. So the state of Wisconsin had $4 million available for funds for this. There were 61 applicants, and there were, how many did they, 18 grants, 16 grants? I can't remember the total number of grants they gave out.
No, it wasn't that many. It was like 8 or 10. There wasn't a lot.
Maybe that's what it was. And we got $500,000 for Wausau out of $4 million. So really, really big.
Oh, sweet.
It's pretty cool. So we're excited.
Alder Neal.
Thank you. Talking about species, I know that, I think I'd heard, maybe it was you saying it, but, the optimum size, for putting a new tree in, is still relatively small, Can you just give us a quick idea of growth rates and species that we might be mixing in to have like a relatively fast growth rate? I mean, and are there any fir, evergreen type trees in the program as well? We have we moved here in 1999, so 25 years ago, and there's like a jack pine in our front yard too. Okay, just a lone jack pine, and we used to like decorate it for Christmas, and we could just reach and put like a star on top. It was like it was this tall. It now is taller than our house, and we have a 2-story house. It's big. That to me seems like it's a pretty quick growing tree. Is there any room for that kind of mix in our program?
Typically in boulevards, we don't put evergreens. We run into issues, especially when they're younger, the first 10, 12 years of life. We have a lot of screening issues and problems with visibility. And as they get larger, we have the needles who tend to collect, and they tend to really form up in our gutters and things like that. So it's not a typical tree we put in our boulevards. We do plant them in our park spaces, and sometimes you'll see some of our larger medians, things like that. But the boulevard's not between the sidewalk and a curb. To be clear, we typically don't put any evergreens in there. But as far as fast-growing species, our elms grow very quickly, and sometimes a little too quickly for us. This year, I've seen 4 or 5 feet of growth in 1 year, which is a lot. So structure pruning becomes a concern at that point. We have things like our London plane trees, which are growing gangbusters this year as well. So sort of that medium-growing tree is really good for us. We can maintain shape, structure, and form very well. and we still get nice growth out of it. So some of our middle species are hackberries, some of our maples, which we don't plant many because we have so many, but some of those species do really well. I do get a lot of requests for maples. Unfortunately, have about 38% of our city is maple, so we're trying to err away from that. And actually, a point of the DNR contract that we put together that they brought to us is any species that's over 10% of our urban canopy we cannot plant. There's only 2 species we have that are more than 10%, ash and maple. So obviously, we're not going to plant ash, and then maple, they won't justify that. We can't plant through there. So if we plant maples, it'd be through our funding, which we do still put some in. But we were talking about replacing ash, getting a quicker urban forest, and those elms do great for us. London plane trees do really nice for us. Those grow well.
Isn't there another variety of ash that's not affected by the borer?
They're looking at Manchurian ash, which comes from the Far East, and I don't know that when they bring it here that it's still slightly susceptible. I don't know if anyone is planting at this point. But there is I believe the blue ash, very small population in Illinois, is fairly resistant, but it's a very small pocket. There's literally thousands of trees. That's all there are. So that I've not seen as something that's being commercially available.
The only thought I would have would be if mountain ash is being confused to be an ash. So, yeah, mountain ash is not actually an ash, but a common name.
Yeah. Aspen's a very quick successional species, so they grow really quick and fast, and they don't live very long. So we don't like to put them because they'll actually sucker out, so you'll get a forest of aspen along the boulevard, which we don't want. And plus, they're very short-lived trees, so, yeah.
Okay, continue on, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay, next, our department, in conjunction with the Wausau Fire Department, got a grant for 3 save stations. It's an AED that is encased in a pedestal or a wall mount that is climate controlled, and there's a camera inside, and when that door gets opened, the alert goes to the fire department. So this is an effort to decrease response time, I guess, in the event of a cardiac emergency. So we have one in place at the 400 block, we have one in place at River Life, and the next one will be installed at Athletic Park on the park side, on the east side of the Ball Diamond. So pretty excited about that. There was a ribbon cutting held middle of September and a press release. So hopefully the public's aware and they know what to do with them. So next would be Athletic Park turf. This was written prior to where we're at right now. So this so far has been done in 3 phases. They did the groundbreaking and the initial grading. Then the next crew came in and poured the curb and some additional fill material and grading. And then the third crew came in and installed the actual turf or carpet. It went in fast. It looks very good. And one of the things that I kind of wanted to highlight with that is the fill material. So I don't know if you watch football or baseball, but when you see things in slow motion, you see these little black rubber beads get kicked up, right? The Mark with the Woodchucks wanted to go away from the rubber for a couple of reasons. One, it's not really a biodegradable product. 2, it gets hot. And 3, it's synthetic. So there was an alternative with this company that was hired to do olive pits. So they're ground olive pits, and it's almost like a gravel material. So it's cooler. We're not dealing with synthetic material in there, and its playability is actually phenomenal. They were actually playing on it the other day. The project is not done, but we've got some real turf to work on outside of the infield, but the playability was great. So Mark wanted me to mention that the olive pits worked out pretty good. So. We've got some drinking fountains that got put in River Life Wharf. We moved that one, the Oak Island Shelter and Playground, and then Rose Bowl at Oak. That's done. We are conducting water winterization at all of our parks. Woodson Park fountain, the pump we had some issues with. I don't know if you drove by that and noticed, but one day it would be great. It would look like a kayaker going through the rapids, and then the next day it would be a kayaker sitting in a puddle. So we had some pump issues there, so that's getting worked on. We also worked with Wausau West High School. Their wood class, shop class, took some of our material, some of our woody material, and milled it to boards, and actually constructed these kiosks that I have pulled up on the screen. Well, they didn't fully construct the kiosk. We finished, final assembly. This was actually one that we did last winter, but we've put a few more of those up as well. So kind of a neat partner project that we did with them. Next up, I did want to speak to, some of the excessive garbage and vandalism that we're experiencing, and I spoke to this the same way at the Park Commission meeting last week. We are seeing a very rapidly increasing amount of trash and human feces in areas that shouldn't be, like Hammond Park, 3 times in 2 weeks, I think it was. It's getting tough. Like I said in commission, there's no ask. I'm not asking anything. I just want to update people that we have some challenges, and the 2 downtown officers that we've been working with are amazing. Daily communication, it's worked out very well for us. They're able to keep us posted when we need to respond to something. They came in this morning and grabbed some garbage bags because they're making people clean up after themselves, which really happy to hear that. So just wanted to touch on that. And then we thought it was vandalism at River Life. Turns out there was actually a project that was approved by the city for the ABC Supply Company. It was tying in a sewer lateral, or I think it was a storm sewer lateral or sewer lateral tied into River Life Park on the south end, east side of the road. When we drove by there, it looked like vandalism because the grass was all ripped up, a tree was cut down, and what's going on? So after a little further investigation, PGA was the contractor. They will be restoring that area back to what it was. I gave them the species of tree that needs to be replaced, and they're probably going to have to come in and reseed again in the spring. But for the most part, that's been restored to the best of their abilities at this time. Events, some of these are a little bit old news, but we had Art in the Park September 5th through the 8th. The Festival of Arts was the 400 block, the 6th through the 8th. At Oak Island, we had the Beer and Bacon Festival from the 13th to the 16th of September. The Fall Cup at the Sports Complex was middle of September also. We had over 90 teams there. And then Ragnar, which my director ran in and won yet again with her team, 1,649 runners. So those are just kind of some of the bigger events and updates. That is all I have.
Okay. Alder Lukens.
I just had a comment. I just wanted to express my appreciation to Mark for not going with the crumb rubber, because I am one of the strong opponents to that. So I really appreciate it. So if you could pass that on, or maybe I need to pass it on to him myself. So thank you very much.
Sure, I'll pass it on. I have to see him on Thursday. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alder Lukens. Any other comments? Okay, item number 8, future agenda items, park ordinance updates. Oh, Alder Neal.
A possible future agenda item is just a follow-up. I did mention this to Jamie. In a recent walk down by River Life, I noticed all of the banners hanging from the light posts, like yay big, are pretty weather worn. I mean, they're like sun bleached, and like they're dirty and whatnot. And just wanted to see if there's any in storage, or do we consider reordering, more vibrant looking ones that are looking pretty pale right now.
I don't believe we have any of those in storage, not that I recall. We have a lot of stuff, so I can look, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, but these are just the vinyl or whatever they are banners.
Okay.
I would like an update too, if you could, on how that coming along with the removing those stains on the 400 block stage that have been bleached from years of that we've talked about it.
Yep. And our intention is to complete that before it gets too cold to paint. And I will say I wish we would have gotten to it already, but right now yes.
And
No
is
other fires.
there a possible way to seal that so it won't happen again?
I think the sealing, so that sealing with the caulk, I think is going to solve the problem, because the belief of, well, myself and the contractor that sealed it was that, that caulk at the top of the stage had kind of receded and water was getting through there, and then that was bleeding out through the concrete, kind of carrying that calcium deposits or whatever with it, causing that staining at the bottom. So I think if we power wash that off, repaint that, because we actually do repaint that annually, although it did not happen this year. So, yep, that will get addressed.
Okay, thank you. Then, any other updates by anybody? Then I guess we'll move on to the next meeting. It'll be Monday, November 4th, 2024 at 5:15, next door in the Maple Room. And Alder Watson.
Will we be able to record that for, like, public viewing, or is that gonna just be recorded, like, on a
I
tape
don't
recorder or
remember how
something?
Jamie said she was
I
going
don't
to
know
do
what's
that.
in the Maple Room
I thought they
for,
were gonna just post the audio, but I think we had some discussion about we wouldn't have a video feed, but we could, post the audio recording.
Okay,
Is that adequate?
so my question would be for the city attorney, would that be legal?
Sure, you don't have to live broadcast or tape your meetings. You've chosen-
I can't hear you, Ann, I'm sorry.
Yes, it's legal, Mr. Chair. There's no requirement that you live broadcast your meetings.
Okay,
You do that out of openness and transparency, that we live broadcast and tape them, but there's no legal requirement that you do that.
okay, thank you. And just for, so everybody knows, we cannot use this room here because of the voting that's going to be taking place in the ballot counting, what normally takes place in here for every election. So that's why we decided to move it over there. Thank you.
So did I
Attorney
miss
Ann.
it, or did you talk about the park ordinance updates for number 8?
No, we did miss it.
Okay.
Park ordinance updates, Andrew?
let me scroll through here and see if I have information on that.
Okay.
I may have overlooked
I'm
that
here
as
to
well.
take notes, thank you.
Yes, no. No, I don't see anything in here after project updates. Does anyone know what this item was about?
Can we make a motion to move it to next month?
I think that would be best.
Well, it looks like I thought it looked like it was supposed to be for next meeting anyway, right?
It looks like it, yeah, future agenda items, park ordinance updates, so it would probably be for the upcoming meeting, Kurt, you are correct. So, is everybody okay with that? Okay. Future agenda items will be park ordinance updates. Item number 10. Thank you, Alder Watson has made a motion to adjourn, second by Alder Lukens. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, and have a great evening, and we'll see you tomorrow night.